welcome to another edition of Coastline. November 1st is going to be a momentous date for many of us in Beaufort County. We've been used to going to the supermarket and being given the option of paper or plastic, but that is no more. An ordinance has passed that, effective that date, will forbid the dispensation of plastic bags with a handle in Beaufort County. Now, this came about after a public hearing and through rather lengthy discourse. And joining me in the studio, actually we're in the County Council chambers today, which is the appropriate place to be, are the lawmakers that were involved in this, and also an expert in dealing with marine life, which is oftentimes affected by plastics. And we're joined by Dr. Joe Staton, who is the Dean of Mathematics and Science at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. Also is a marine biologist and a geneticist, so he is certainly more than qualified to talk about the effect of plastics on marine wildlife. And the county assistant county attorney, Christopher Inglese, is also here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about this ordinance, how it came about, and what the public reaction has been to it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Coastline this month.
My pleasure.
We're going to go ahead and start at the beginning and ask you, Mr. Inglese, how this ordinance came about. I'm sure there was some public comment about it. You were here for that. Tell us what went down.
The idea was presented by a representative from the Coastal Conservation League, and Councilmember Flewelling referred it to committee, to the Natural Resources Committee, where a series of public hearings and public input was held. I think, I can't recall the exact number, but 12 or 14 public meetings were held, some south of the Broad, some north of the Broad. And the idea was to give everyone an opportunity to weigh in, retailers and business owners, as well as the scientists and the conservationists that had expressed an interest in getting a bill like this passed, or an ordinance like this passed in Beaufort County. Those work sessions and public hearings were overwhelmingly supportive of passing the ordinance as presented, and by overwhelming, it's unusual to have that much public support for much of anything going through the process, and it was overwhelming. We did hear from retail organizations and from local businesses, but the overwhelming voice that we heard was in support of the single-use plastic bag ban.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of information brought from scientists community. There was a lot of discussion about microplastics.
We're going to talk about that.
Brought into the discussion, and that certainly was compelling part of the presentations that council heard and staff heard.
And I guess it's fortunate to say that Beaufort County is not leading the charge against plastic bags, but you're just kind of following other municipalities that have enacted similar bans, correct?
Correct. Before Beaufort County, well, we're the first county in South Carolina to pass a county-wide ban. There were a few municipalities, Folly Beach, Isle of Palms, had existing municipal level bans in place at the time the county passed its ban.
So does this mean that as a county ordinance, that a similar resolution does not need to be passed by the town of Port Royal, the city of Beaufort, the town of Hilton Head? They're automatically covered by this ordinance?
No. So the county would not enforce a plastic bag ban within the municipal limits of our municipalities. So we worked with our municipalities. In fact, that was a very important part of this ordinance, was that actually council put a condition on the ordinance moving forward, and that condition was that the municipalities had to, if they were interested in, express that interest in passing a similar ban, and in fact pass a ban before the county's ordinance was put into place.
So all four actually, Bluffton, have now
That's correct.
Gone ahead and enacted a similar ordinance?
That's correct, and it's almost identical. They are all substantively identical. Mm-hmm. And that's because the county can't, the county would not go into a municipal limits and enforce the county ordinance without the agreement of that municipality
Sure,
for us
sure.
to do so.
Now, I told you I've got to be playing devil's advocate a little bit, and certainly we don't want to see a problem with the marine wildlife being endangered because of plastics, but the concern on someone who might be, let's say, a libertarian and worried about government getting too involved in every aspect of life would be that this is just the beginning of additional legislation. There are municipalities in the country that have banned or are in the process of banning plastic straws. You take that to the next level. Certain municipalities, in New York City as an example, have banned 24-ounce sugar drinks and donuts made by using hydrogenated oil. At what point does government become intrusive as opposed to protective?
As far as when is too much, that's why the process is such a beautiful thing, and why this country is so amazing, is that we have a process, and sometimes if we go too far, we have a process to step it back.
Oh, good.
And that certainly is always a possibility in the law, and especially on the local level, you have an extraordinary opportunity.
Through public comment,
Absolutely.
as we saw here.
Yeah.
So. Well, Dr. Stanton, we spoke a little bit before this on-camera interview about some of the things that you have seen, including, as Mr. Inglese indicated, the proliferation of what was called microplastics. So share with us briefly, if you would, the problem of big plastic bags and this concept of microplastics that was addressed.
Well, it's just two extreme ends of a spectrum on plastic waste in general. So large plastic bags don't biodegrade. They've attempted to make biodegradable ones. They don't do very well, and they fill up our landfills. But more importantly, people are careless, and you'll see them. Everybody's experienced this, riding down the highway and seeing somebody's white plastic bag flying out of the back of their pickup truck where it wasn't tied down or wasn't secured. And you drive down 278 or 170 and you see white plastic bags in trees. It's flying plastic trash, and it's not very pretty on one level, but it eventually gets into the watershed and it can wash into the ocean. And unfortunately, white plastic bags look a hell of a lot like a jellyfish in the water, which is one of the main staple foods of sea turtles. Especially the leatherbacks and our state reptile, which is the loggerhead turtle. So they ingest these things and they don't pass very well through their guts, and they can often starve to death. There was actually a starving leatherback that washed up on, I believe, Hunting Island this summer.
So you've actually seen this?
I didn't see that one. I didn't see it in person, but I did see pictures of it. One
Right.
of my former students is the educational ranger on Hunting Island.
Is this a big problem in your opinion?
Well, I believe so. I mean, it's a big problem in that as a libertarian, if you wanted to say argue against a libertarian, I would say that are you willing to pay for the extra landfill space we have for just accumulating plastics that don't biodegrade? You're paying for that as a libertarian, so you're paying for somebody else's choices to be wasteful. So you can turn that on its head if you wish to. Eventually, these bags can shred up, and they don't biodegrade. They can turn into smaller pieces of plastic, and eventually can wind up in the food chain. So microplastics tend to be generated by other sources, but they're also a potential issue in the future. We're actually doing some studies on that, looking at the gut contents of shellfish and fish at USCB, and the students we have working on those projects are finding microplastics ingested in these animals.
Yeah, you had mentioned before we started taping about the breakdown of certain clothing items in the washing machine.
Well, when you don't air dry clothing, which we don't because we want convenience. You have a lint filter you have to clean out, or your house could catch on fire.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling that to everybody who doesn't do that, so their house doesn't catch on fire. But the cotton fibers in there are fine because they'll biodegrade. It's a plant product. But things from fleecy jackets and other shirts that are made out of plastic or rayon or things like that create small lint fibers that don't biodegrade, and those can end up, if you're on a sewer system, in a municipal waste system, and they actually pass on through once treated into the environment. So that's a very fine scale thing. We have We have an addiction with disposable plastic items in this country. Water bottles. I read, I think 1 billion disposable lighters. I don't want to say the brand name, but they're marketed by one brand in particular. 1 billion are made every year. Plastic straws, people say, and I'm very familiar with. There's problems with that because
the argument is that
we have some disabled people who need plastic straws to actually
and that's
function.
also a preferential issue because of the way that a paper straw breaks down before you're finishing your drink. And
I've used them before. I've never noticed that happen. People have said that they don't work well with hot liquids, or the reusable ones don't. But chances are, if you're drinking a hot liquid,
you're not going to use a straw.
Or if you need to, you're not going to drink it so hot that it's going to burn your lips, even if without the straw. So, some of those sound a little bit challenging. My dad was involved with disability work in his business growing up, so I realize there are disabled people. So I don't think we necessarily ban them wholesale, but we certainly don't need to be using the number that we do. Every drink you get at a bar will come with 2 little stir sticks in it. No one drinks through those stir sticks, really. Everyone in a restaurant comes with a straw already stuck in your drink, not whether you ask for one or not, for your convenience. We could just eliminate 90% of those straws by people just being asked first whether they want a straw or not.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a straw person.
Yeah, and I'm not either. But there's one company in Virginia who make 4 billion straws a year.
Wow.
That's one company, and so that's a lot of straws. And if you walk the beaches here, the main things you find are straws, plastic waste, plastic bottles, and also, unfortunately, cigarette butts. Something else some people don't think is trash. They'll flick them out because it's cool,
Yeah.
But so these things, they're an issue.
Well, I appreciate your input, both of you. The time has just absolutely flown by, and we want to talk. You guys gave us some insight into the law side of things. We're going to talk about the order side of things in our next segment as we talk to a couple of representatives of both the Code Enforcement Office as well as the Business License Department for Beaufort County. But in the meantime, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this section of Coastline. We'll be right back.
Starting November 1st, 2018, businesses in unincorporated Beaufort County should not provide single-use plastic carryout bags to their customers. For more information, go to www.bcgov.net/bagban or call 843-255-2270.
Well, we're back in the County Council chambers, which is rather appropriate because this is where the law was passed, and now it's time for the order portion of this because somebody has got to be enforcing these laws. And we're joined by Audra Antonacci. She is with the Beaufort County Code Enforcement Office, and Edra Stevens, who is with the Beaufort County Business License Department. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us with this segment of Coastline. And we heard a little bit about the reason for the law and how it all evolved and some of the different options that are going to be as part of this entire process. Now it comes the part where we put the rubber to the road, as the expression goes, and the two of you are responsible for making sure that this law is enforced. Now, Edra, in your capacity as a business license person, does this mean that if anybody wants a business license or renewal, that you're going to make them sign a waiver saying, I promise that I won't give any plastic bags out as part of my business?
Well, actually on their renewal form, when they renew their license, they already sign and attest that they're in compliance with all county, state, federal regulations. So that's already in place now. But yes, they will be attesting to they're in compliance with that.
And I was half kidding about that, but part of your big responsibility is going to be in public education. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing, because I know probably the amount of people that are aware of this oncoming legislation is not as great as you'd like.
It's kind of informing our businesses, letting them know what's required, that this is coming. We've sent out mailers to them. Some of our larger retailers, we have coordinated with them for their newsletters. There's also been PSAs that went out there. It's on our website. Actually, if they go under tab 3 on the website, it will take them straight to our information, which will give them the ordinance, all of our flyers in English and Spanish. So we're trying to make sure that they're aware of what's going on, and that we have that compliance.
Okay. And
Yeah.
have you gotten any feedback from some of the businesses that you've already been in touch with as to, yeah, we're on board, or we're a little nervous about this?
More so on asking what the specifics were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, was there a certain type? And, you know, we just sent them to the ordinance to let them know what was required. And if there would be, could they charge? That was a big question.
Could they charge for the, okay. So in terms of if they provide something other than a paper bag, if they were to provide recyclable cotton bag with a nice handle on it that's you know, a certain gauge that's reusable and washable, what did you tell them? They can charge?
The ordinance does not address that, so that's up to the retailer. I mean, they charge for the recyclable bags already, more so paper bags could be. Some places do charge, you know, between 5 to 10 cents for that paper bag.
Oh, okay.
But that's totally up to the retailer.
That's going to be interesting to see. I know one particular grocery store about 6 months ago, maybe they were prepping for all of this. They were actually giving away bags. Every time you would shop, you'd get a complimentary cotton bag. That lasted probably about 2 weeks. We'll see if they do it again or if other grocery stores follow suit, but certainly that would be a nice gesture on their part, at least to get things going.
Yes.
Now, Audra, you seem like such a pleasant person. I can't imagine getting a ticket from you, but you've got your ticket book all ready to go, don't you?
Well, we will definitely educate. We'll assist the business license department, and education is important. So we will, you know, get out there and educate.
Yeah, as I look at the ordinance here, I see that the first violation is a $100 fine, second violation is a $200 fine, and then if you are still a scofflaw, continuing on, it's going to be $500 every day that you're in the violation of this particular ordinance. Now that seems like a lot of money, but I don't think you'll probably end up getting to the $500 level. You're probably going to find that most businesses are ready to comply, don't you think?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so now I was half joking with you before we started taping. You're not really going to be, you know, just out in the parking lot with your binoculars looking for people coming out with plastic bags, are you?
No, we are not.
How does your enforcement of this particular ordinance come about?
I foresee it mostly being complaint driven.
People calling your office?
They can call our office. They could use the Connect app that we provide, Citizengram. That's through email. So those are several options for citizens to notify us.
Tell me a little bit more about the Connect app.
The Connect app is a app that Beaufort County provides through the phones, and all complaints that they use through their phone, it's directed to each department that they feel would be responsible for their complaint.
So in addition to just violations of the new bag ordinance, it could be anything that people maybe feel is a violation of either a code or something else that falls under the oversight of Beaufort County?
Well, right now, currently, it's just Beaufort County. So, and a lot of, you know, citizens aren't aware of jurisdictions. So, you know, if it's not our jurisdiction, then we direct them.
But I mean, it's more than just a complaint about the bags. It
Oh,
might
yes.
be if somebody is, you know, using faulty wiring in the construction of a house, they could go on the Connect app and report that. And
Well, not all departments are on in Beaufort County. They're not all part of the Connect app, but I'm not sure with that department. But code enforcement is on the Connect app. So
Okay.
if you have, if you would like to file a complaint with our ordinances that we enforce, you know, i.e. trash and litter, junk vehicles, then you would use that app.
yeah, tell us a little bit more about your department as far as what all you cover besides just plastic bag enforcement.
Oh, we'd be here all day. We enforce a lot of the county ordinances. Like I said, we assist the business license department to make sure that businesses are current with their business license, and to ensure that businesses in Beaufort County know the process and need to obtain a business license prior to starting operation. Trash and litter ordinance, junk and abandoned vehicle ordinance. We assist the community development department regarding river buffers and trees. Quite a lot we enforce.
And a lot of this is complaint driven, or do you actually have enforcement officers that are out and about maintaining due diligence in terms of caring for these ordinances?
I do have officers. We work north and south of the Broad, so I have 3 officers currently. But we also rely on the citizens too. We can't be everywhere every day, so.
And as far as making sure that the business has a license, it's probably a brick and mortar issue. Is not going to pop up as not having a license because they're so visible. But a lot of times in Beaufort County, we tend to see people that are driving with out-of-state tags and are doing business here. Would you say that that's a large portion of the people that you find that are violating, that don't have a business license and are doing business in the county?
Actually, no.
No?
A lot of times you may have the out-of-town tags, maybe contractors. There's processes in place where if there's contractors that are coming in and pulling permits, then that's crossed with the business license department. So we've got a process in place for that. A lot more of the businesses out there are probably not complying would be local businesses.
Really? Okay. Now, how in the world do they think they could get away with doing that for any period of time before somebody caught up with them?
Well, that's why we work hand in hand with code enforcement, because it takes, teamwork making that happen to make sure, we're checking on it, providing that to code enforcement to assist us. So.
Okay. And have you found a lot of businesses that are out and about without a license?
I have found businesses without Beaufort County business license, yes.
Really?
Yes.
What is your typical MO? You go in and just say, can I see your business license? And then when they don't produce it, do you shut them down or what?
No. I would have to say the majority of are complaint driven. So individuals will contact us or the business license department inquiring to see if this business has a license, and if they don't, then we'll contact them, reach out to them, educate them, advise them that if they're going to conduct work in unincorporated Beaufort County, they are required to obtain a Beaufort County business license, provide them with their number, business license number, and educate. And then, we give them a chance to comply, and then if they don't comply, then we go through our process.
Sure. Now, are businesses required to display their business license in a publicly visible place?
Yes, they are. It should be when you walk into that business that you can visibly see that business license on the wall.
Okay. Getting back to grocery stores, they're going to be the majority of individuals that we're looking towards for dispensing something other than a plastic bag. But looking at this ordinance, it looks like there are some restaurants that occasionally may dispense plastic bags to maybe have to-go items. Those plastic bags would also be illegal after November 1st, right?
And we haven't included information to our restaurants.
You have or have not?
We have.
You have, okay.
Yes, they have already received a mailer for that, along with information on the ordinance, so that they can comply.
Okay. And is there any difficulty that you're anticipating with bringing this about, or do you foresee this as a smooth transition?
We would hope it's a smooth transition. Trying to educate them beforehand so that they know. A lot of the larger retailers and larger restaurants have been looking at and watching the ordinance as it was passed. So they were aware it was coming. Smaller ones, it's making sure that they have that information. When you're dealing with a corporate office, the corporate offices, of course, their attorneys and everything are looking at it.
Of course. And I know that County Council has kind of looked at other municipalities before enacting it here, so we're at least not on the bleeding edge of new ordinances. Well, I thank you both so much. Is there anything that you would like to say in your respective positions that our listeners or viewers might be interested in as it relates to this particular business license or code enforcement?
Well, if there's any questions they have regarding it, certainly give us a call. We do have our information on the website, but we're happy to address any questions they have.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Edra Stevens, who is the head of the Beaufort Business License Division, and Audra Antonacci, who heads up the Code Enforcement Division here in Beaufort County. Well, that's our Coastline for another month. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
The County Channel is also available on video on demand. Go to bcgov.net, click on the County Channel logo, and select your program from the list. If you would like a DVD of this program, click DVD order form from the County Channel main page and fill out an order form.
The One Stop Shop is located in the administration building on the second floor in room 225. Before the One Stop Shop, people didn't like that you had to go upstairs, downstairs, and possibly once you were upstairs, you had to go back downstairs to see another department. So with the One Stop Shop, we consolidated those so it's one location where you will have the zoning department, the business license department, and the building codes department. It's literally one stop for your permitting and licensing.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see this movie. I hope it's better than the book.
Yeah, I can't believe it's finally showing here. It probably won't be as good as the book.
You actually read the book?
Well, no, but I heard about it. Still, it probably won't be as good.
The body like soft served down in the June sun. I tried to shoot a thought, but the thought sunk. Nothing to do but scratch words.
Morning,
in the dirt.
Deputy Cook, Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. Reason I stopped you, you threw out a bag of garbage out of your window. You have license, registration, and proof of insurance.
Okay.
What's the water roll down now? Day on, 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 day on.